Well, good afternoon, folks. Are we hot here? Good afternoon, folks. And hope you enjoyed lunch. And now we're going to get into our award ceremonies. Just to introduce folks, my name is Mike Stone. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Council on Problem Gambling. And not only do we welcome those of you who are in person here at our lunch, and I hope you enjoyed the short ribs, or go ahead and enjoy your carrot cake while we progress over the next few minutes. And welcome everybody who is live streaming in and viewing our program. Thank you for your dedication to be able to help us grow and learn on how to better assist and help those who may have a gambling problem. So with luncheon, we try to do a few awards every year, and one award will be announced now, but because it's in the legislative session that's ongoing in Frankfurt, our award winner is tied up in committee meetings, and the last 2 days of the session before they recess for 2 weeks for the governor to issue vetoes. So they're busy running things through fast and furious. Our government education award recipient this year is the Honorable Matthew Cook, state representative who chairs the Licensing and Occupations Committee. He helped shepherd through the committee and through the vote of the General Assembly the inclusion of language to establish a problem gambling assistance account for money raised through sports gambling. And we're very grateful for his efforts to do that. He's continuing. We've had conversations this session about establishing a universal self-exclusion process. You'll hear some more about that in the afternoon session, and we hope to keep moving forward on those efforts. So, in absentia, I present the Government and Education Award to Representative Matthew Cook. The next award, the recipient is present, and I have worked with this gentleman for about 20 years. He has been one of the most diligent reporters on problem gambling issues in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He's also a very objective and straightforward reporter, and it's been a pleasure to work with him. And he has recently retired, and we wanted to recognize his value for work with at WEKU Radio out of Eastern Kentucky University in Richmond, and his diligence in covering state capitol issues. So it is my pleasure to present our media award to Stu Johnson. Everybody good? Oh, you got another one? Got it? Okay. There you go. All right. There you go. You're good? Okay.
I will say, can I say?
Sure.
Mike said, he said you can say as little or as much as you want. It'll be a little. I just want to say I thank you for this, Mike. And I don't know how many times I stuck a microphone in front of your face in the edX halls there about legislation, but this is an issue like many that deserves attention, and I want to recognize the council and what you do and how important that is, what the council does for people, because that's where it's really all about. And there's certain issues that I think definitely deserve media attention, and this is one of them. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next award is one that we do not give every year. It's only provided in certain instances, and it is worked through an application process and a application that is judged and juried by members of our council. And I do have to, one of the members of our council is Chip Polston, who used to work with the Kentucky Lottery Corporation. And Chip, unfortunately, is ill. He planned to be here today to, in fact, was going to make the presentation, but you're stuck with me because Chip is best needing to get himself better and healthy. Those of you from Kentucky, Chip has gone on and he works for KET and hosts one of their shows that on educational television that travels around the state and highlights various activities. I know he just got back last night from Carter Caves with illness that one of his producers gave him. So unfortunate for that. This award is the Arch L. Gleason Industry Award for Responsible Gambling Leadership. And it is done in memory of Arch L. Gleason, who is the former CEO and president of the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, unfortunately now deceased. But Arch was instrumental in the founding of the Kentucky Council on Problem Gambling. And Arch had a philosophy, understanding that he operated a program that was a gambling activity. But his philosophy always was in recognition that there was such a thing as problem gambling, which 25 years ago, 30 years ago, wasn't always that recognized. But Arch said if just one person develops a problem because of their participation with the Kentucky Lottery, we have an ethical responsibility to help that person address their addiction or their problem. And he was steadfast in that. When he became director of the World Lottery Association, he worked hard to establish responsibility program that now is a model for gambling activity around the world. And in recognition of Arch's leadership, our council created this award. Individuals apply for that award. Committee of the council judges the applications and only awards it to those deemed fit and honored to receive it. So it is with great pleasure this year to present the Arch L. Gleason Industry Award for Responsible Gaming Leadership to Kate Carlson of the Hoosier Lottery. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Should be ready to go.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Mike, and thank you to the Kentucky Council on Problem Gambling for your recognition and for this honor. It's humbling, and thank you so much for it. Something I don't usually share with people is that I'm actually an affected other, which means that I have family that was touched by problem gambling. So my grandfather was a problem gambler. And I really liked Jeremy's slide up there that had the effects of problem gambling when he was doing his presentation. and kind of some of his examples on legacy and what it means when there's effects. It's not just on the individual level, it can have a profound effect on, generations afterwards. So it's something that I really enjoy the work that I do, and I do it because I really enjoy prevention, and I really enjoy what we can do in prevention. And so I hope that there's some examples in here that showcase that a little bit. And so I'll go through that a little bit here. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the Hoosier Lottery, our program, where we are today and where I think we're going and where the industry is kind of going a little bit. And I hope it's not too boring. I do want to say that there is gambling imagery in this. So if you're a person in recovery, please keep that in mind. I have the utmost respect for people who are in their recovery journey. My grandfather never went into recovery, so the effects were really not so great. So those of you who are going through that, utmost respect for you. So our mission at the Hoosier Lottery is to maximize revenue in a socially responsible manner, and we do that through our responsible gaming program. We do it through the World Lottery Association. So what Mike was talking about, something that Arch set up was this responsible gaming program. It has a 9 gaming element framework, which has research, employee training, retailer program, game design, advertising and marketing, player education, which is a huge part of what we do, treatment referrals, stakeholder engagement, and reporting and measurement. This is also externally audited, so we have a third-party auditor come in and look at our programs and say, hey, you need to do this a little bit better. We believe you're doing this, or we don't believe you're doing this. Show us more evidence in what you're doing. So it's not just us saying that we're doing this, it's externally verified that we're doing it. So I'm going to show you just a couple of examples of what we do. I won't go into the entire program, that'd be incredibly dull and boring. But I do want to talk about something that's really important, which is game design. And I think this is a key element that a lot of lotteries should report on, to be quite frank with you. We have a game design process, a responsible game design process. And again, there's some imagery here. Apologize if that's triggering for anyone. But our game design process has a few key elements in it. One is something we call the balanced portfolio. So in the beginning of any kind of fiscal year, we're looking at the entire portfolio of games, and I should back up a little bit. We only sell draw games, which are like Powerball, things like that, and then scratch-off games. Those are the only games we sell. So when we're starting a business planning year, we look at the games that we sell, we look at the entire portfolio mix, and what games we want to introduce in that year. And when we're looking at that, we're looking at balancing how we're going to get new customers in, what kind of games we're selling, what price point we're going to sell it at, and making sure we're doing that in a completely and totally responsible manner. Making sure that we're doing it so that we're marketing things to get new customers in, making sure we're doing it in a way that we're not just moving players up a price point. So that's a part of the balanced portfolio assessment that goes through. Then we undergo 2 different game assessments for each and every single game that goes through our process. They're responsible gaming assessments. One is under a tool called Astrig. And so that gives you an actual risk assessment. It gives you high, medium, and low. It looks at the structural characteristics of games. So this will look at things like, are there on-purpose near wins in your games? What is the maximum price that people could win? Things like that. The other assessment that we look at is something that we help to develop, which is a product and communications assessment that looks at things like the language that you're using. the actual imagery that's in the game itself. So are we using words that are triggering? Are we using words or images that could be something that's bringing in children or things like that? So we're looking at all of those things, those two assessments together, and we're mitigating things based on those assessments. CSR, that's my team, we look at these games, we look at the assessments, and we consult with our product team to make sure that they're mitigating things appropriately and they're bringing down the risk profile. We also consult with stakeholders. So Chris Gray's here from the Indiana Council on Problem Gambling. We have a stakeholder group. They're the treatment providers in the state. We talk with them about our marketing, our games, all kinds of different things. We'll talk to them as well. And then finally, we have our game launch. So we report this in our annual CSR report. You could go online and look it up. But as you can see, we have 0 high-risk games. The majority of our games are low-risk games, and we have a bit of them that are medium risk. But this is our game risk profile, and I do feel like lotteries should report on this regularly. And any gaming entity, actually, should be looking at their gaming risk profile and reporting on it. So this is an example of how we mitigate games, because you might be thinking, what is she talking about? So this was a game that was proposed to us. It was a Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory game. We had issues with the candy theme and the appeal to children. So we talked to the licensed property owner. We said, we don't really like that imagery. What can we do? And we said, instead, let's do the golden ticket here. Same kind of theme, same kind of, it's still the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but it doesn't have any of that appeal. It doesn't do, it doesn't have the same problematic stuff there. So this is just an example of the things that we can do when we're working on game design. We also do an extensive marketing training with our employees. We go through a red, yellow, and green zone, and we do this with our marketing agency too. So even people that we've contracted with go through this. So we use real-life examples. They're very, very visual. They need real-life examples. They need to see marketing and see what complies with what we do versus what doesn't comply. So I'll take you through a little bit of that. This is something that's prohibited for us, just as an example. So images, things that we won't do, anything that's based on childish cartoons, creative elements, things that could appeal to children, including Santa, elves, and toys, religious symbols, menorahs, nativity scenes. This is very much based on things around the holidays that can be very problematic. So here's some red zone examples for us. We wouldn't do the things that are in the middle there with the Santa, the cutesy kind of animals. That's problematic. This would be an example for us. What zone is this? This would be yellow zone for us. If we could remove the Santa Claus there, that would probably be fine. This would be a red zone for us. This is a little too cartoonish. We wouldn't do this kind of advertising. And this is an example of how we mitigate things. So this was a before. There was a lot of imagery here with, you can see with just a lot of Christmas imagery. We removed it, just had the product tickets, things like that. So this is just kind of the stuff that our team goes through. We look at things, we take imagery away. We try to make it as clear and as less triggering as possible. Our player education program is something we're incredibly proud of, but we're always looking for ways to improve it. This past March 11th, we launched a new player health screening. It's based on the brief biosocial gambling screen. So we did this with a promotion. So I know earlier there was talk about how can we get some of these preventive tools out in front of players. How can we do some of that? This is how we do it. We do an enter to win. They don't win gambling products. They don't win anything like that. It's just positive play, kind of like swag, like a scarf and a hat. There's a chance to go to an Indians game, that kind of thing, which is a baseball team in Indiana. So what we're using the term player health screening. It's destigmatizing language. And we're hoping that this will help get this tool in front of different players, that they'll get screened for it and they'll get help if they need it. We also have an exhaustive list of different tools for players. We have a financial literacy tools, we have underage play prevention, we have a track your play calculator, and we have something called a positive play quiz. In Indiana, we have launched Positive Play, which is backed by Dr. Richard Wood and there's a bunch of different researchers that have done it. It measures the amount of positive play that a player is exhibiting. So we have a little quick quiz that people can take, but we also do the research with our players online to see how positive their play is. We're going to skip that video since the videos weren't working very well, so we'll skip the signs and symptoms of problem gambling, but we do have a video on our website on the signs and symptoms of problem gambling as well. As far as stakeholder engagement, we do work with all kinds of stakeholders in Indiana. So we partner with Chris Gray from the Indiana Council on Problem Gambling. We started a group, a responsible gaming group. We work with all of the industry in Indiana to help try to promote responsible gaming. So we're working with the casinos, the different sports books, the Horse Racing Commission, and we're sitting down with them and talking about responsible gaming in Indiana. We're bringing different speakers in to promote responsible gaming. We're doing everything we can to try to make this top of mind for all of the different industry groups. We also do different stakeholder communications. We communicate all kinds of things to different stakeholder groups. So we have something called CSR by the numbers. We report out things like how many people are calling our helpline and getting transferred to the problem gambling helpline from us. We have a responsible gaming newsletter that we send out, and we also have our CSR report. And I promise this will be the last thing I talk about. So prevention, I think it's been great, all of the discussions that have been going on about prevention in this conference. I do think that the gambling industry needs to think about our role in prevention and what it could be. And I did look at what the definition is now, kind of, sort of, for prevention. But I kind of reworked it and worked in gambling. So prevention activities to work to educate and support individuals and communities to prevent the misuse of gambling and the development of problem gambling disorders. I think this would be a great definition, especially for the industry to adopt. I think that we can do a whole lot more. Our audience is not just problem gamblers. Our audience is a whole bunch of gamblers who could develop a problem gambling disorder later on. But if we could prevent the misuse of gambling with some of our customers, I think we could work together really, really well. Another thing that I'm very passionate about is key performance indicators and making sure that we're consistent across the gambling industry on key performance indicators and reporting them. This is actually a criticism. What gets measured gets managed. It often gets misquoted, but I think it is important. Setting up what those key performance indicators are and having it consistent across different gambling groups is incredibly important. We should be measuring how many problem gamblers there are in our customer base. We should be looking at how positive the play is across our customer base. We should be measuring the risk factors in our games. There are just certain things that should be standard across the gaming industry. And I feel as if we should be promoting that just a whole lot more. And that's kind of the future I see for the gaming industry going forward. And with that, that's my contact info if you're interested in it. And thank you so much for this award, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for the remarks, Kate. Certainly the Hoosier Lottery is out front in working on responsible gaming programs. And we also compliment our own Kentucky Lottery for its outstanding work in keeping the promise that Arch Gleason made alive and moving forward. Right, Terry Sebastian, who's with the lottery, is with us this afternoon. Terry, thank you for your support. Without the lottery, this council probably would not exist. It was very instrumental in getting started, and it still remains the largest supporter of our activities. Although we are pleased to announce that thanks to the new notices of funding opportunity from the Department of Behavioral Health, that is a result of the funds that have been raised for problem gambling through the sports betting, that our council has received a contract to help us improve services that were available here. You maybe know there are approximately 40 behavioral health counselors and peer review specialists around the Commonwealth that are viewing this proceedings live streamed. I have relatives in California, and they think of Kentucky as a small state, and I try to explain to them, if you wanted to drive from Fulton to Pikeville, it's as far as it is from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And they don't grasp that, but it's, as you all know, that's absolutely true. And so trying to reach all those pockets of area, the Kentucky Lottery, people don't think of Kentucky as a gambling state, but there was approximately $2 billion wagered bet in Kentucky over the last year, between the lottery, between historical horse racing, parimutuel wagering, sports gambling, and charitable gaming. And retail outlets, 10 years ago, there were 5 racetracks. And then with the advent of historical horse racing, there's now 14 sites where you can play historical horse racing. So gambling has expanded. The lottery added Keno and online games. Charitable gaming added electronic pull tabs, of all things. So it's always they're a legitimate capitalist business, and so they have to compete. And we understand that. Our council is not anti-gambling. What we are for, though, is having programs for responsible gambling and to help those that need help. So thank you for what efforts you are doing to raise that awareness and to get your certifications and your knowledge to be able to treat gambling. We pledge to work with the Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental and Intellectual Disabilities as closely as we can to keep increasing the awareness of gambling programs and to increase our coverage of problem gambling services across the Commonwealth. So thank you very much for your attendance here today. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the luncheon. Congratulations to our award winners. We will recess briefly and start our next presentation back in the assembly room at 1:30. You're going to enjoy our Kentucky Council on Problem Gambling President, Dr. Rosalind Clark, who's going to be talking about gambling and domestic violence relationships. And also, we got a few surprises to project with you in regard to the possibility of universal self-exclusion programs and availability of online treatment and sports programs. So we'll have a few other surprise interjections there. Real quick, Dr. Hunt is going to review data in Kentucky on gambling. And then we're going to wrap up today with Emily Flath from the Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities. That's going to talk about the notices of funding opportunity and the programs that it is working to raise awareness and to support problem gambling services in the Commonwealth. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to the next program.